more than a year, and then later I went to some other corporation to work. That was TCL. And then after I joined the corporation, it's kind of like I had less time to work on open source stuff, and that makes me sad. And then so yeah, right now I just quit my job again and then try to build up my own startup thing, which is Giffon, that thing that I'm going to present now, and see if that works, or well, I can go to work for someone else anyway. Yeah, but yeah, so this Giffon thing is a website that lets you state what you want. You put up your wish there, and then people, maybe your friends, can look it up, and then they can try to chip in, and then Giffon will collect all the money and then buy that gift and then ship it to you. Yeah, so basically it's a combination of wish list and some kind of crowdfunding website like Kickstarter. But there's a twist here, is that we are not really doing funding, because the campaign owner does not really receive money. Instead, they receive the actual thing that they list on the website. And I think there's quite a few benefits that I will mention a little bit later. So for the Giffon, the name is named after a mythical creature, Giffon. Yeah, because all the cool projects have to be named after some mythical things like Tinkerbell or something. Okay, sorry. I didn't know that. So yeah, it's gift, so it's Giffon. And then one more important thing is that actually the pronunciation of Giffon is kind of similar to Giffon, which means split bill in Cantonese. Yeah. So actually, that was how the names come from. So here is how the idea come from. So who recognized this guy? Yeah, this is Robert, the car creator. So last year, I think, yeah, it's last year, he thinks that, well, a lot of people asked him to implement OpenFL's API on top of car. And then, but he wants something to motivate him. So he wrote a blog post to ask people to actually, well, if you guys give him a small video console thing, I think there's a modern version of NES that can play NES game. Yeah, if you guys give him that thing, he will work on that, yeah, for some time. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so that was his tweet, and yeah, Josephine just make up a small campaign for him, and then our communities, well, just completed the campaign within just one day. I kind of want to chip in, but well, the campaign just ends so fast that I cannot really contribute anything. Yeah, that was great, and I think, well, that's cool, and I think this whole process of like asking for gifts and then actually buying that gift to that someone is very a good experience, and yeah, I do not have to worry about like if Robert actually received money instead of the console, he may want to buy machine guns or something. I don't know, you know. Well, he is Russian, and Russians are cool. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so I think this whole process of actually buying the gift instead of giving money is a good process. So this is the ideas of Giffon. So we focus on one-time gifting. So yeah, you know, a lot of open source contributors is not actually doing the open source thing in full time, but they just do it in their leisure time, and they do not really like have the ability to collect enough money to support it in full time. So maybe, well, just buying some small gift from time to time that will motivate the open source developer is quite a good thing. So that's what Giffon is focusing on. So yeah, gifts instead of money. And then for Giffon, there's no requirement on the gift receiver to deliver something back. Of course, it would be good to actually deliver something, but it's more like the common thing of buy someone a beer. So, well, appreciate your words. So let me just grab you a beer that make you happy. And I think, yeah, that's good. So for common people, it's eco-friendly. So you no longer have to receive useless gifts during your birthday. Yeah, I guess, yeah, this is a good thing. And then it's more affordable for the supporters to buy things to support people. So maybe someone want a 4K TV, then it's kind of impossible for me alone to buy the 4K TV to support others. But now, well, with Giffon, we can just do that to share the bill with someone that I know or not. So that's enough for the idea. So here comes the technology thing. So basically, of course, I do it in Haxe. And then for the backend, I use Node and Express. And I deployed it to the AWS Lambda serverless thing. And then for the database, I use MySQL just because I know MySQL. And for the front end, I use React and a little bit of jQuery just because I know how to use it for like doing AJAX call that is, well, something I'm familiar. Of course, I can do it in some other ways, but yeah, whatever. And we use Bootstrap, and then we use Selenium for testing. And specifically, I use the Python package of Selenium that I will talk about a little bit later. Why not using the JavaScript version or whatever? So yeah, going into the details is more like a little bit sharing of how I learned to use this stuff, because I'm totally not an expert of a lot of the items I've mentioned. Yeah, so maybe you guys can give me some idea to how to improve, and then maybe if you haven't tried these kind of things before, then you can see, well, to see if that's fit for you or not. So I use serverless, yeah, and specifically AWS Lambda. So the whole serverless idea is that not really you don't have a server to run your server cycle, but you cannot or you don't manage the server. The benefits of that is that you don't have to think of upgrading the OS. You don't have to follow up about security issue about the OS. You just trust the Amazon guys that they will update the OS for you. And I think it is good because, yeah, normally when doing when you start a project, you want to focus your effort into building the thing instead of security. It does not mean that security is not important, but you just don't have the time to do that. So just offload some of the security works to someone you trust, then yeah, I think that's a good thing. Also, you don't have to provision the servers. You don't have to worry about maybe, well, someday I post it to Hacker News and then people find it interesting, and then you will just like crash my server or something. Then if I use Lambda, again, Amazon will do that for me. Yeah. And then also, I don't have to worry about maybe there is some bad request that will crash my server, that I have to restart it manually or set up some kind of automated restart job. And that's also automatically handled by Lambda already. And Lambda itself kind of runs at anything. In theory, I think you can run Neko or HL on that, but I'm not sure. Yeah, in theory, it's possible. And for Giffon, it's just use Node, just because it's popular, it's easy to find third-party libraries. And then for the serverless thing, it only it's decided to serve some sort and one-time requests like serving web pages, where you make the connection, get the web page, and then disconnect it. It's not really decided for like making a game server that the player will connect to the server and then maintain a connection for during the whole gameplay of like, I don't know, several minutes. It's just not possible because there's a limit of Lambda that, yeah, it will just serve like a few minutes. I cannot remember the exact limit, but yeah. Maybe some other serverless platform will doesn't have these limits, but yeah, it's not possible with Lambda. And so although you don't really manage the server, doesn't mean that you don't have to tune the performance or the scalability of your application. You still have to think about it. You have to pick the right algorithm, pick the right structure of the program to implement. And it actually brings some other performance issue that you don't normally face that if you have a server. For example, there is a thing called VPC in AWS, which is some kind of virtual network that allows you to like kind of put all your virtual database or virtual server into a single network, and then there is a gateway that all the network requests have to go through the gateway instead of like directly connect the database to the internet. So if you want to use that features, it's actually add more than 10-second cool start time to your Lambda function. So if your Lambda function hasn't been used for like an hour, and then when someone wants to visit your web page, it has to warm it up and start your program. And then if you use VPC, it just add like more than 10 seconds to that. And that's, well, not really acceptable. So I do not use VPC. Also, you have to think of database because, yeah, database is not a serverless thing. Database itself is some kind of server. It has to be turned on like forever to receive connection and stuff. And yeah, you have to think about whether you have to how to manage your database. There is a new thing called Aurora Serverless, which kind of turned the database into a serverless service provided by Amazon. But that one is not quite mature. I tried that one, but to use that one, you have to use a VPC. And then to use VPC, it adds 10-second cool start time. And some months ago, they introduced some feature that allows you to use it with just HTTP requests instead of using a VPC. But I haven't really looked into that yet. I just use a normal database now. Also, you have to think about the access, because when the Lambda launch your code, it will pull the whole source code and all the things you need to launch it in some kind of server. So if if your site have a lot of image, then it may add up to like a few, I don't know, a few hundred megabytes. Maybe not, but yeah, you better not to have that whole program to be that big. So I just use the S3 to host the access, and then my Lambda function will just get the access from S3. Yeah. And then the second thing is React and JSX. So this was actually also my first time to use React and JSX, and then I find it really awesome and powerful. And initially, I kind of want to avoid that because I already know jQuery. Maybe I just build all the things in jQuery and then don't have to learn another framework. And later, when I read more about React and JX, I find that, well, maybe it's kind of awesome to do things there. So I try to adopt it on the client side just to implement the forms and some kind of little widgets. And then more I think about it, maybe I can just use it in the server side too. And then it seems to be awesome. And right now I'm using React and JS both on server and the client side. So I just render the whole page as a React component, and then render it as a string, and then just throw it to Express to the client. The reason I do that is that I find that actually working with the DOM is much better than working with some string-based template. I tried quite a lot of different template systems like EJS or the Haxe template or Eraser and all those. And actually I found that, well, yeah, working with DOM is the way to go instead of messing with string, because it's very easy to mess up the string. You get some invaded HTML when you do so. So I found quite a nice analog between like using macros and doing this kind of manipulating HTML. So it's kind of like working with the DOM is kind of like using expression level macros like Haxe, and then to doing those string-based templates is like using some lexical level macros like the C preprocessor, which is, well, kind of hard to use, I think. And then the comparison between jQuery and JSX is more like you are using macros with or without verification. So of course, nowadays, when you do macros, you try to use verification like on the right-hand side. You just build up the thing you want to return, and then let the verification to build up the whole expression objects by itself. Instead of, well, yeah, you have to manually put up the expression object by specifying the expression types and the content of that thing. Yeah, there was quite a troublesome way to use macros. And currently, Giffon has React JSX expression. This way to construct the DOM. So nowadays there is inline markup, but I'm not really a fan of it right now. I don't think it brings a lot of benefits to working with React, so I just use the old way. And probably I will switch to Coconut, because I think that is kind of, yeah, much easier to use in the Haxe side other than the JS side. So yeah, that's all my to-do list right now. So for the server side, Express is kind of okay to do to be used with Haxe, but Express itself is so dynamic. All the handler or the routers are accepting functions that can be asynchronous or synchronous depending on how you define the signature of the handler function. So yeah, it's a little bit troublesome because yeah, sometimes I bypass some invaded handlers to that, and then it will throw errors that's not captured by the compiler. The way I solve it is to have some helper function that will wrap the Express API, and then yeah, just use the properly type the helper function instead. That's my way to work. Maybe I will switch to ThinkWrap again, because it's more typed. And then another thing is async await, and then I'm using think await, which is an implementation of async await with Haxe macros, which it works. And then I think it's kind of a must-have nowadays when you work with the Node.js, because it's much better. I'm not sure how to say it. But it's not perfect. There is some problem, mostly about error handling. The problem is it's not really due to think away, but due to using promise and futures. By nature, you do not have the proper stat trace of that. when there is an error folder from a promise, you actually have a stat trace of some promise runner or some kind of that instead of the actual place that call the promise or create the promise, because everything is asynchronous. And then I'm not sure, but I saw that actually JavaScript nowadays has its own async and awaits, and then they support proper stat trace there. So I'm not sure whether it's possible to try to implement that or integrate the JS version of async await in Haxe. Then, well, to get that stat trace is, yeah, pretty important, I think. So, oh yeah, this some code comparing whether using promise and using async await to see, well, the async await rate is kind of much easier to reason about. And the next thing is testing. As I mentioned, I'm using Selenium, and basically just because, well, it's the WebDriver protocol introduced by Selenium for testing. As mentioned by Georgia in the OpenSF talk, it's just a way to remote control a browser to click buttons and then inspect the results inside a web page. So initially I tried a JavaScript implementation of the WebDriver protocol, yeah, by some contributors in the JavaScript community. They call it WebDriver.io. Not much reason of choosing that, just try. And then I wrote some extern for that, and then yeah, turned out it's kind of a bad decision. It works, but the main problem is that after I wrote the test, just I think 2 months later, they have a version bump. That is a major version bump, and then there are a lot of API breakage. Then I have to update my test. That means I have to update the extern. That means a lot of works that I don't really want to do. So I try to figure out some way that I don't have to write an extern for the Selenium thing. So I try to move to Selenium's libraries and try to pick a target. So first, I tried Java. Of course, the Haxe compiler can just pick up the jar and then get all the code completion within the jar's types. And the code completion worked, but it cannot really compile the thing because the more recent version of the Selenium's jar file is compiled with Java 8, which right now we have a pending issue of the Haxe compiler that we haven't updated the standard library of Java yet within the compiler. So there are some errors there. So I cannot really use that one. I cannot really take that path. So yeah, finally I used Python, and then because I thought about it I think 2 years ago, I wrote a Python external generator that can generate some kind of incomplete but works extern from arbitrary Python package. So I just used that and then generated the extern for the Selenium Python module, and then it works. So yeah, right now there is only minimal tests. What I test is just to launch a local version of the website and then try to use Selenium to visit the front page and then verify that the markup is valid, and then try to log in with Facebook and yeah, see if that's display the web page correctly. Yeah, but I think it's also useful because it's already catched a few faults in the previous few weeks already. Yeah, I will add more later. So this is how it looks in the test. Yeah, it is kind of trivial. Yeah, not much interesting thing going on here. And the final technical things I want to talk about is I'm using GitLab instead of GitHub, and I kind of love GitLab nowadays instead of GitHub. And the major thing I love that is the CI. Of course, it provides unlimited private repository. There's a thing I need before I publish the source code. And yeah, the CI is really good comparing to Travis and Aprilia or some other things I look into. Yeah, the GitLab CI is the best one I've tried. The reason for that is that in GitLab CI, you specify the environment as a Docker image. So you have complete control of the test environment you are in, instead of like, for Travis, we have been struggling with Travis constantly updating the testing environment. So every like few months, the test will broke for the Haxe repo, and then I have to look into try to fix it. It won't happen in GitLab because the test environment is just a Docker image. That if you don't update the tag of the Docker image, it will stay the same. So it's very stable. Yeah. And another thing is the GitLab CI's pipeline feature, which is you can define a pipeline for the whole CI thing. That first you build the project. After you build it, you test it. After you test it, if it's successful, you deploy it. And then all the individual builds inside this pipeline is, well, again, individual builds. So you can specify different image for different nodes in this pipeline. So for example, so there is a build Haxe job in the build phase that I'm using the Haxe image from the Docker official repository. And then I don't have to think about, well, whether I have to install Python or install something to test it, because it's just the only job it does in this job is to build the thing. So after it's built, GitLab CI have a way to store the build artifacts. So all the JavaScript file that is outputted from Haxe will be passed into the next job. So the next job get all the build artifact, and then it can launch the web server and then do all the testing. And Haxe is not present in the test environment anymore. And then I think this separation of dependency during these different phases is kind of cool and easy to manage. Yeah. And then Giffon itself is open source. Well, I license it in GPL v3. That means, in theory, you can grab the source and then try to launch your own Giffon by yourself. But of course, that's not the point of open sourcing for Giffon. So my point is, because I kind of believe in open source, I think it is common for people like, common for developers like me to kind of find bugs in website and then want to kind of fix the bugs myself to send pull requests. So I kind of hope that maybe you guys will try to help me fix bugs, or at least write some bug reports for me to fix. Yeah. So itself is open source in GitLab, and that's the repository. So the current status is that I'm launching it right now as a public alpha product. It's really alpha quality because yeah, it just works. You can create some widgets there. You can state what you want and then list out how much the total amount is. And then there is payment system powered by Stripe that that means people use credit card to pay Giffon. And then right now there is no watch jobs or something that watch whether the wish is 100% funded or not. So I have to constantly check the wish whether they are complete or not. And then if that is complete, I have to send an email to the wish owner to ask for his or her address, and then I will do the purchase myself manually. But yeah, that's how startup starts. So yeah, I'm doing it in the non-scalable way, and then if that works, then I will try to automate the whole thing. Yeah. Don't worry too much about like errors or stuff, or whether it charge you some error amount. You just have to contact me, and then I will refund you if that's the case. I don't think it will, but well, whatever. So yeah, the address is giffon.io. You have to use HTTPS. If you use HTTP to connect to it, it won't connect. And that's because there's a limitation of Lambda that I haven't found a solution to it yet, but whatever. HTTPS is good, right? It's secure, so you also have to use it, yeah. So yeah, try it out, make some wishes. It's 100% free to post your wish. And then the only thing that I charge is from the supporters. So right now, I mark it as a 10% charge. So for example, if your wish is to buy a $100 thing, I will charge for $110 from the supporters. Yeah, I'm not sure whether this charge is too high or low, but I will figure that out later. And then thanks a lot for the Haxe community to give me this idea from Robert. And then, of course, thanks for the language that is kind of fun to use to build this thing. And then all the libraries I use, like Think, and I use Thanks, and yeah, countless other libraries that you can find in the source code of Giffon. And then I have to thank Stella for the web design. She is very passionate and dedicated designer that she has been checking the design even in the past few days, and she just deployed the latest design just before this talk. Don't do this at home. You shouldn't do this. But well, yeah, thanks a lot. And that's all for my talk. Let me quickly show you the web page right now. Yeah, that's how it looks. And so currently there is only 3 wishes there that's posted by me and Stella. Then of course you are more than welcome to contribute to that. Yeah, of course, and you can log in with your Facebook account and then make a wish there. You just have to fill in a few things like the title of the wish. And right now it supports USD and HK dollar. And you post a link to what you want to buy, and then specify the price, and then say a little bit of things that why you do want it, and there's an optional target date. That is just a suggestion for the supporters to expect when the wish will be closed. So yeah, and just take a look at my wish. Like one of them is to you guys should buy me some Haxe games. There are 3 to-do lists. Yeah, 3 games on my to-do list to try it out, like Paper Piece, Northgard, Dead Cells, also popular Haxe game that I haven't tried, and I feel guilty for that. So, so yeah, buy me that. Yeah, so that's it. Do you have any question? Yeah. Is the testing what? Yeah, I'm using the headless browser instead of the Source Lab service. There is Selenium Docker thing that launch a headless Chrome or Firefox browser inside Docker, and then you just communicate it, yeah, with the Selenium library. Yeah, I'm using Docker, and then maybe I will show you the actual specification of my CI pipeline, which is somewhere there. Yeah, so there's a surface thing, surface functionality in GitLab CI that you specified other than your build environment. What other surface you want to launch alongside with the test environment? So you can launch, like, for example, MySQL or launch the Selenium headless driver alongside with your test environment. Then in your test environment, you can connect to the other Dockers remotely through a port. Yeah, that's how I do it. Yeah, here's my service. I specified MySQL and the headless Chrome. Any other question? Yes? Yes, of course, I ship overseas. Yeah, because yeah, I have to add the shipping cost to the whole thing. But yeah, I do that because it's just a menu thing. You can specify anything, whether it's some online digital things like those Steam games, or you can have physical objects that ship worldwide. Then I will try to ask for your home address and then ship the thing to you. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I don't know right now because, yeah, right now I'm more concerned about the idea whether people find it interesting or people will actually use it or not, other than whether I am able to scale it out. In the worst case, of course, I can hire some people to do the manual work, like shipping items, collecting funds, or do the customer service for me. Then that's the worst case. The best case is to try to come up with some automated way to check whether all the wish items are legal to purchase, do all the shipping things automatically. Yeah, that is some other later steps. That's not my concern right now. Yes? Oh, yeah, sure. The extern so he is asking about the Python extern generator. So that was PyExtern coded, which is, wow, there's potential security vulnerability. Okay. Nice. So that generator is implemented by in Python using the Python target, and then how it works is to try to inspect the Python module in runtime by using reflection. So it just inspect for example, I want to generate the extern for NumPy, then I just import NumPy and then iterate over all the NumPy types, and then for each types, I iterate over all the methods and properties, and then figure out what is type is it. With that information is available, then I will generate it by constructing some macro things, and then just print out all the things using the macro printer. Yes. Do you want? Oh, cool. I'm so glad that you figure it out how it works, because there is not much documentation there. Well, of course there is a little bit, like, well, you have to compile it and then launch it in the CLI. But yeah, there is a lot of corner cases I do not document it, but it's basically something that is to be improved. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, actually, I have been thinking about that a lot, that I should ship that already generated extern files. The reason why I didn't do that is that I think that the extern is kind of incomplete. I'm not really incomplete, but incorrect in some case. For example, it does not handle inheritance right now, so it does not know the extern type A is extending type B or something. So yeah, but it's kind of usable because I'm using it and you are using it. So maybe it's worth the effort to actually publish it as Haxe. So yeah, maybe I will think about how to do that. Probably I have to split it in some way instead of packaging all the externs into a single library. I'm not sure. Maybe yeah, just mono repo is okay. I'm not sure. Yeah. If you have any other question, ask me later because yeah, time is up for me. Thanks a lot.